Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We have special guests with us. I'm very excited to bring on Lionel. He's a former prosecutor, licensed trial lawyer, as well as a media and legal analyst. His YouTube channel is at Lionel Nation, and his Twitter to X channel is at Lionel Media. Welcome to the show, Lionel. Love you, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So great to have you on the show. I've been watching you and your coverage of you have a great way with words, much better than myself, even though I'm supposedly a professional communicator. But I just love listening to your you really know how to frame things like nobody else, especially when it comes to the Erika Kirk and the TPUSA, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens. Everybody should check out Lionel's channel. It's like listening to music almost.
Thank you.
And it's really well done. Well done. Let me just what got you so interested in the Charlie Kirk assassination and the Candace Owens angle to it?
Well, this is a perfect story. In fact, people are asking, maybe you get this too, but I get this. Would you stop talking about this? What the hell is so interesting about this story? For God's sake, this woman lost her husband. We're at war. You got the Strait of Hormuz. I don't even know where the hell the Strait of Hormuz is, or I didn't even know it was straight. And you're talking about this crap. What the hell's the matter with you? For God's sakes. And I'm thinking, you don't know anything about this. You know, Jimmy, I'm probably older than you, but there was a time in our life when we used to like stories like Falcon Crest and Dynasty and Knots Landing. And there were these characters, these people that were these complex, specifically women from Cruella de Vil to name it. I didn't understand how this thing happened. And I followed Candace, loved her to death, thought she was terrific, but I thought, okay, fine. All of a sudden, she brings up this story about Charlie Kirk. They make the mistake of going after her. So she says, all right. There's a great line from Jack Reacher, the first Jack Reacher, where Tom Cruise is about to kill this guy and crush his gonads in this fight. And before he does this, he looks at him and he says, remember, you wanted this. So whenever Candace engages, it's like, remember, you wanted this. You didn't, we weren't enemies, but if you want me, ask Brigitte Macron what she thinks. So anyway, so here they came, and I thought Erika Kirk, and I thought at first, oh, for God's sake, let this person. Two things got me. First, the creepiest, ghoulish, funereal, lugubrious, sick, I don't even know what it is, moribund necromancy. I don't know what the words are. When she lay atop her husband's corpse, highlighting his hands, I'm thinking, if there's a hell, you're in the smoking section. Yeah. Dear God, this can't be. And then she's like this, oh, did you get this shot? Did you get it? Oh, by the way, where's the funeral? Where's his parents? Where are the kids? Then I thought, okay, you know what? Oh, people, look, we all grieve. I'll give her that one. Then came the creepy Zoom call 6 days later. And all of a sudden she starts off with this, hey guys, how's that merch? It was like Glengarry Glen Ross, you know, coffees for closers. Come on, let's go. The hats, the keychains. What are you doing? I thought, this can't be happening. And then Candace goes in and she brings up a perfect juxtaposition. She says, look at Kobe Bryant's wife, who was just so bereft. She just said, look, I can't talk. She didn't say, by the way, that's Lakers.com for you to see. Another one, too, was the greatest one was when you saw at during the State of the Union, Irina the mother of the young Ukrainian girl who was stabbed viciously.
Yes.
This is a woman who had not a tear left, who was spent. This is the natural arc or trajectory of sorrow. Candace, Erika is doing kind of a dinner theater where this is her scene where she does this thing where boom, boom, boom. Now, I'm not saying, Jimmy, that there's anything in this thing, but you know and I know on theater, sometimes people say, how will I cry on command? And the stage manager says, you want me to show you? And all of a sudden, they hit you with this camphor thing, and but here's the thing too. Ask anybody who's ever cried before. Ask anybody who's ever lacrimated, dare I say. What happens? What is the handkerchief for? It's the sneezing. You blow your nose. You're connected. She never blows her nose. It's always like this. Two dabs, this performative. She has one act. So anyway, all of a sudden we thought, oh, wait. This is it. And then these people, please don't think of me as sexist, but women said, this laser got it, because this is schmaltz. It's a work. It's wrestling. And she is so far gone. And instead of them reeling her in and saying, listen, we got to work on this acting. We got to work on this routine. It got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And then came, as you know, this deep dive. I think there's a lot of spooks and intel people saying, I thought this stuff was secret. We know everything. Candace says, and then the fourth LLC, and then in 2025, they closed down we know her corporate records, Laurie Franz, and the father who, it's beautiful. It's labyrinthine. There's never ending. And just when I think, okay, that's it. Now we got Laurie Franz is a spy, or was a spy, or with the Tesseract school, and the please, I'm losing my mind. You hit a nerve here. How about Erika? Her story is like, hey, here I am. I'm a girl. Here's my sizzle reel for my thing. Hey, here's my boyfriend. We're doing it. I'm hit. Then she goes, nah, it doesn't work. Let me go for the pious, the school marm. And there I was. I never went outside. I never dated. I never drank the drinks. I just want to go home and read the Bible. That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. How about this story? I was walking down the street with Mama, and somebody comes up and says, you got to help us. What can I do, sir? Would you please run for Miss Arizona? Please take one for the team. All right, if you insist. Okay, I don't know nothing about birthing no babies or running no pageants, but I'll be doggone if I want. Meanwhile, you don't get recruited. I mean, has she ever said anything? So anyway, so that about wraps that up. That's my interest.
She's, if you followed this case closely, which I do, and I'm sure you do, which is that it seems Erika Kirk is unable to speak without lying. I mean, people talk about Trump, but I think she outdoes him, and she just makes up stuff, and that is what that is the hallmark of an op, right? Her whole life is a psyop. What other 17-year-old beauty queen goes to start helping traffic children in an orphanage, right? In Europe. Eastern Europe, and then she's working with the military. How does that happen? How does that all that? So and then she's lying about it at every step, right? She lied about, like you said, she lied about she didn't date. She lied about she didn't drink. Just the littlest things, and then
right, exactly. And she doesn't care. It's like there is no How many people do industrials for the CIA for EMPs where they goes, I don't know. I mean, look, she acts like she's Vanna White, or she's at the Javits Center at a car show, holding a sign. No, you are a singer. You don't just get this gig. But the other part too was there's four parts of this. Number one, there's the crime. And this is great. As a lawyer, I'm thinking, yeah, this is wild. The Tyler Robinson case is one thing. Then there's the idea of the real identity. It's like, okay, who really did what? He might have been there, but the third one is what's the motivation? And the fourth, of course, is Erika. And there must be, but one last word. She's not a psychopath. She's not a sociopath. She's not even that deep. She has her world. Remember being there with Chauncey Gardner?
Yes, Peter Sellers.
That's her. Hers is whatever she has a clicker, and she just changes the channel and say, I'm going to try this one out. I'm going to try this. I think I'm going to be, she never says Jesus. She says the Lord, never mentions her kids. Quick, Erika, what's your kid's name? Jimmy J. Anyway, no clue. All of a sudden, she has these. Listen, bless Charlie Kirk. This guy was a rube. He fell off the turnip truck. He didn't know what he got into with this. Come on, Jimmy. We've been around. We've seen this. He didn't know. She knew exactly. I don't know what his story was, but she probably, rocked his world. And he said, hey, and then he had no idea. And by the way, I'm not suggesting she had anything to do with any of her. There's no evidence of it. I mean, nothing's impossible. So I'm not saying that. But my God, how she overcame this so quickly. And how about all of the men she meets? How about when she's meeting with Trump? And he's like this. And then when she grabs J.D. Vance from behind the head, they go, let go. I mean, you can't believe this. The Tyler Robinson case. I don't know if you want to get to that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get into that.
Your rendition, by the way. See, Jimmy, trial law is about telling the jury the facts, not the law. Telling people, let me get this straight. You talked about the breaking down the gun. Now, I got this thing with him. I put together a chair. I don't know, it makes a hell of a weapon. But he's going to sit there and say, okay, let me take this thing, 30-06. Hang on a minute. Hang on. Take the thing off. Hang on. And my Fetty goes, oh, Grandpa's going to kill me. Granddaddy's I got that shooting iron. That's the least of your worries. What are you talking about? Anyway, so he takes it apart. Okay. Sticks it down his pants, I guess. And he puts it back together again. And he's got to calibrate the scope. Then he tells his girlfriend or a boy, whatever this thing is, I love you. Hey, would you do me a favor? Would you do me a solid? Would you go get the rifle for me? I left it. What? Would you go there? Listen, don't lawyer up. Be careful. Would you just help me? The stories don't make any sense. But here's the best part. Some of these, the folks online are terrific. There might have been two versions of this. The first version, as you know, was when he said, well, I'm not going to turn myself in. No way am I going to get languish for the rest of my life in some cell. I'm going to go out with a bang. Top of the world, Ma. Top of the world. Well, that's not the one they used. They used the first one that says, I think I'm going to turn myself in. And they probably thought, oh, God, no, stop. And they probably told their operatives, no, plan B, abort. What? But we have all this text messages. No, he turned himself in. He what? Yeah. Who the hell's in charge of this? Don't you know what we're supposed to do? He's supposed to, well, he didn't do it. And by the way, he turned himself in, not to admit, but because they told him, if you don't, you're going to have red dots all over you. One day you're going to wake up. So the narrative's gone. But Jimmy, be careful. They're going to, I don't want to say this, but if he's ever Epstein, nobody's going to be surprised with that one. Nobody, because if there's remember, no Tyler, no case, no problem. And guess what? Old Junebug or Luna, whatever the other one's name is in Texas, same goes for you, honey, because you're an accessory. Did anybody offer you immunity? Because if you testify, the first thing out of your mouth should be, I'm taking the fifth. I'm not going to answer anything about anybody. I mean, this, boom.
So here's exactly what you were talking about. Sam Parker.
Great.
Sam Parker, who's been great on this. He says the original plan was for Tyler Robinson to be killed in a shootout, just as we suspected. So follow closely because it's a little confusing. And there's been newly released text messages, which trace back to the first being divulged by the FBI by Lance Twiggs Lance Twiggs, which was Tyler's lover, Lance Twiggs, at 1 a.m. September 12th. The same nightmare that Tyler turned himself in. The same nighttime that Tyler turned himself in. Tyler allegedly states he's going to call the cops to a certain location and then go out on my own terms. I have no intention of being drugged through the courts, he says in these texts. These messages were meant to be the paper trail for the shootout that the conspirators had planned for him. That was their version 1.0, okay? That's what they That was the original plan, was to say these were the texts that he sent, and then they were going to have this shootout, and that's why, and that was going to justify it. And but that's not what Tyler did. He didn't call the cops and go out on his own terms. Thank God and family members, something or somebody intervened. He didn't follow whatever the original plan was. He turned himself in instead, ruining the shootout plan the conspirators had prearranged for the patsy. That's why the text messages in the indictment from September 16 say that I'm going to turn myself in willingly. These messages were the adjustments made in the aftermath of Tyler turning himself in on the evening of the 11th, ruining the plan. These messages were actually version 2.0. So the text messages we all saw from the FBI, those were their second plan that had, when they scrambled because Tyler didn't follow through with the first plan and show up and get himself killed.
And when you're the usual patsy, as in the case of Paddock in Las Vegas and the Butler guy and Lee Harvey, at least you can say, let's get him when he's there with Granddaddy's shooting iron, get him there, and some eagle-eyed cop dispatches him on the spot. Well, guess what? He was nowhere near there.
Yep.
That's the part. He's walking around, and all of a sudden you hear this. And he probably thought, somebody's shooting. It's me. Me? He's the only guy ever to be a part of a conspiracy he didn't know about. He didn't know any of the people. How can you do that? But listen, Jimmy, it comes down to this. I'm a lawyer. And I'm going to say, great, let's tee it up. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I represent this guy here, Tyler. Now, here's what we're going to do. They have got to prove beyond and to the exclusion of every reasonable doubt that this was aggravated murder, that he shot Charlie. So what did they have? Two things. Eyewitness? Nope. Confession? We'll get to that in a moment. They think there's a confession. Well, it depends what you mean by confession. You see, there might be a summary. For this guy, he never really lands on it. Yeah, guys, it was me. It was you what? Well, it was what? What do you mean it's me? What does that mean? Sounds like a self-help book. It's me. What does that mean? Me. You have to authenticate these things too. If all of a sudden I come in and they've got, hey, Jimmy Dore's left all these notes here. Excuse me. I have to authenticate this. Anybody know your handwriting? Let me look at this. Who says this? Not only that, when you have text messages, we have a thing called the best evidence rule, which I don't want to get into, but I just can't talk about things that I read. I can't tell you about, there was the contract said this, the sticker said this, the sign said this. It's like, wait a minute, you're talking about a document here. So also you need to have somebody come in who knows what they're doing and authenticate that this message came from his phone and that phone is what this, because and I know, whether it's any of these big tech folks who maybe are spooks or Palantir or God knows who, they can make you say anything. You could admit to, killing the Count Richelieu, whatever, on your phone. So they have to authenticate this. Not to mention, when they actually asked Mr. Twiggs, did he tell you? Well, I'm summarizing. And I know you're not supposed to do this. I know that defendants are not supposed to take the stand, but I would tell them, Tyler, you're on the trial for your life. You're going to get your ass there, and I'm going to ask you questions. And I want that jury to see just what a dumbass you are. And I'm going to say, this is the killer. And I'm going to say, did you do this? No. Did you admit to it? No. I was there. I might have been there. There's no such thing as that. So let's assume that I say, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you go back and you find him guilty based on a confession, would you tell me where it was? I can't find it. Where is it? He didn't confess. It's a guy who turns himself in, goes to the sheriff's office and says, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm going to Miranda. Oh, no. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to turn myself in. I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to tell my parents in kind of cryptic, weird coded messages. So let's just throw that out of the way. There is nothing. Then we talk about the gun. And they say, well, there's no match. Jimmy, this is a lint brush. There's no match here either. There's no connection to the murder. This lint brush is as relevant as that rifle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to file a motion to suppress and a motion in limine that says nobody's going to mention a rifle. Because once they see that big thing with a rifle, they're going to think of the Mannlicher Carcano. They're going to hearken back because there's no connection there. Not only that, I want to find out what is the ME. So what's in what did they get out of Charlie? Fragments, metal, or plastic. There's all you've heard it from exploding microphones to whatever it is. Also, if you thought the magic bullet was good with JFK, this thing goes in, hits the cervical collar, goes down, goes up. It granulates, it atomizes, it just pulverizes because of his diet. I mean, this story there's nothing there. So if I kick out the gun and if I kick out the admission, guess what, folks? That's not guilty. And there's no way they're going to let this guy walk. Capiche? No way. He can't. Because all this stuff, this was supposed to be taken care of.
Yep. That's exactly.
Well, and all they had to do, if you wanted to get rid of Charlie, you could have done it very, very easy, much easier.
But they wanted to do this publicly.
Grand style. Grand.
Yeah. So let's just get back to, just so if people aren't exactly clear on what's happening with this new release of these new text messages. And the kicker is, spoiler alert, they're not even going to use any of these text messages in the trial. They've already admitted that. But let's go back to what they're now releasing, because there's there's the text messages 1.0 and text messages 2.0. And so let's go to this. When Lance Twiggs shared the text messages from the original plan on what was essentially also the evening of the 11th, 1 a.m., September 12th, is basically the night of the 11th, the conspirators hadn't yet had time to react to Tyler going off the script. All Lance had at that moment was version 1.0, where he was going to get himself killed. So that's what he shared, and that's what made it into the FBI file, and that's what's been newly released. By September 16th, the conspirators had time to react, and they forged new false messages of Tyler saying he was going to turn himself in, because that's what Tyler ended up doing. Again, these were version 2.0, but the text that Lance Twiggs shared the night Tyler turned himself in reflected the original plan, version 1.0. Tyler was going to meet the cops and go out on his own terms. Remember, he didn't want to be drugged through the courts, but you don't turn yourself in if you don't want to be drugged through the courts. So they had planned to mow Tyler down, release version 1.0, fake text messages of Tyler saying he was going to go out on his own terms and wrap everything up in a nice little bow. What's that they say about the best laid plans of mice and men? Tell me if I'm reading this wrong. So here it is, September 16th indictment text left version 2.0, newly released text messages from the early morning of September 12th below. So here it is. So here's what they're going with. I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors is here as a deputy for the sheriff. But here's what the original... Tyler, not yet, but I have no doubts that they will be on me within the hour, and I will give my location up and going out on my own terms. I have no intention of being drugged through the courts in front of the country. Can I come see you? After that, I can call my dad and see if he's willing to help me or not. So let's go a little bit farther. We're supposed to believe that in the same message conversations between Tyler Robinson and Lance Twiggs, the following contradictions happened. Tyler worries about retrieving the gun because he doesn't want to leave any evidence behind, but then he had already planted a note and now sends a bunch of messages leaving a ton of evidence behind. He then says he's sorry to involve Lance Twiggs, but then he involves Lance Twiggs. He says he's sorry about being the one that killed Charlie and assertively explains that he needed to kill Charlie to stamp out hate. He says he wanted to take the secret to his grave, but then he confesses to the crime to all his Discord buddies, then says he's going to willingly turn himself in. He says he wanted to live to old age, then he decides to go out on his own terms with the cops now. He says he doesn't want to face a court system, but then he willingly turns himself in to face the court system. These are all the contradictions in one text message. And after that wild conversation full of nothing but immediate contradictions, he confessed to his parents, retired detective friend, and LDS bishop, and posted his confession to Discord right before turning himself in, and then he refused to confess to the cops. Right? So he confessed to his parents, he confessed to his Discord, but then when he eventually does turn himself in, he doesn't confess. Did I miss any other contradictions? Yes, you did. And if that's still not enough, the prosecutor's written argument opposing the defense's motion for delay continuance of the preliminary hearing says this, get this. The state does not intend to offer evidence obtained through forensic extractions of electronics seized in this case, meaning that all those messages that are being publicly released aren't even going to be used in the prosecution. What the F? What do you say to all that, Lionel?
Well, what are you going to use? This is what I'm going to say. Tell me right now. You've got to prove, number one, some kind of agency, something. Are you going to use a confession? Because nobody saw it. You're going to use some kind of an admission, right, Mr. Prosecutor? And this is the way you would speak. I would say, Prosecutor Jimmy, what are you going to do? Tell me what you're going to do, just so that I know. And you also want to get the judge involved, because you're going to tell the judge parenthetically, hey, judge, guess what? Is this an elected official position you're in? Yeah, guess what? Guess what? You're gonna make Judge Ito look like Learned Hand when we get done with this one. You better punt this dog, because you're gonna end up looking like a fool. You understand what we're doing here, Judge? Whoever, you pulled the wrong case with this one. It's a dog. So ask him, how are you going to prove it? Because the idea of the preliminary hearing is, do you have enough? You got to have probable cause, and the definition of probable cause is he probably did it. So that's okay. But here's the thing. Tell me, now let's assume you're going to do what? I'm telling you, don't be surprised if Tyler gets on the stand and says, I never said any of this stuff. And what if they get Lance, who says, he never said this? Well, what's all this business? Where did this come from? I don't know. Then there's no gun. There's no rifle. There's no nothing. Because there's nothing to link it. Remember, this is a lint brush. I can bring that in. Now, what if I walked in, Jimmy, what if you walked in and you said, you show up at Orem, wherever the hell this place is, and you say, I'm going to beat these people to it. You say, hi, listen to me. I'm Jimmy Dore, and I did it. Just, here you go. I read it. I did it. I killed him. He said, what do you mean? I did it. I did it. I was there. Look, here's a picture of me with a smile. Look, I'm taking a selfie. That's me. I did it. Now arrest me. They say, whoa, wait a minute. How do we know you did it? Look, I'm telling you I did it. You arrest this guy, he didn't even tell you he did it. I'm telling you I did it. They wouldn't arrest you.
I know.
Well, where's your gun? They don't have a gun either. I got a lint brush. That'll do. They would say, get out of here. You're crazy.
So some people would say, they go, no, Lionel, they do have the gun. But what you don't understand is they can't match it up with ballistics, but even more suspicious is that when the bomb-sniffing gun dogs went over there, they couldn't find the gun. The cops couldn't find the gun. Nobody could find the gun. The FBI shows up, and the minute the FBI shows up, they find the gun. So you tell me why.
You know why the dogs couldn't smell it? Couldn't smell the dog?
Because it never was fired.
Right.
Because that gun was never fired.
They can smell a fish fart.
Yes.
They can. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
And all of a sudden, they're sniffing around. They're going, what is it? What? And not even residue from whatever. They never took GSR testing of him, I don't think. His clothes, his cheek, any pull. Also, if we get to this point, I want to bring in my experts. And I'm going to bring in Gunnery Sergeant Jimmy Dore, U.S. Marine Corps retired. And I'm going to say, Gunny, did you try to do this? I sure did. Did you use your weapon? I sure did. And you're good at this, right? I've got to get angle. I got to get temperature. I got to get all this stuff. It's to get this shot here, which looked like an exit wound. But anyway, I'm going to do this. And this guy, first time using this this crappy scope, the breathing, not shaking. This is your first. This is opening night, man. This is it. And you're going to be Lee Harvey, Robinson. This is your shot there, and you did it perfectly. And like you said, let me take it apart. Yeah. I put it back together again. None of it makes any sense. Then we get into the idea of we haven't even looked at the forensics. I want to see a picture of him. I want to see wounds. I want to see everything. And I'm going to bring in my Michael Bodens and everybody else that I've got there. I'm going to say, look at this. What is this consistent with? And somebody might say, you know what? Let's stop. No, I want the world to know. We found plastic. This isn't even metal. What's this? Then you get into the whole thing about, they may say, cut. Because remember, though, I'm going to go back to what I'm saying. If something, God forbid, happens to Tyler, this is moot. It's over.
Yep.
It's done. We move on. So this guy, you better pick him up, take him to an Air Force base or a hospital, which is what they do. You put him in a room with all kinds of sensors, cameras that can tell drops in temperature. There's something called noose on a bun. The black art of poison is so good. Jimmy, I could give you something every single day. You're drinking and you're fine. And then I give you this other stuff. Seems like a sandwich. No big deal. And when this binary thing kicks, all of a sudden you are nighty-night, and the residuals will be potassium elevated and nothing big. They can do so much stuff. This guy's walking around and I don't think he realizes it. And I got news for Twigs. He's walking around in Texas and he's waving at people and saying, what about the FBI? Agreed to protect him at first. Then they say, you know what? You're on your own.
Yep.
What?
Yep.
When they pull the security detail, that's a hint.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like that, like the Secret Service guy when he was told to leave JFK's car. He's like, "What's going on?" That's exactly what they're doing.
Precisely.
So, do you have a theory of the case of what actually happened?
Oh, well,
before we get to that, let me ask you this: because you're a lawyer and you know about this kind of stuff. Do you find anything suspicious or shady or out of the ordinary how his defense team got created?
I don't. There were some questions about conflicts of interest. I don't know. I got news for you. Unless you're there in the courtroom, unless you really see and talk to these people, you don't know anything. They could be the best. They might just be. You see, remember one thing for these quote preliminary hearings, your strategy is you're the defense. You don't say anything. Bring it on. Show me what you got. Prove your case. Now, normally, if there's a case where they go to the grand jury where they've already established probable cause by virtue of the indictment, we don't have preliminary hearing. But this is different. So you just want to sit back and say, go ahead. Let me see what you got. Bring it on. Let me see. And then they dump like 12 gig. There were more pages than stars in the firmament. They got to go through this. We've seen this before. But they're going to be extending this. They're going to be continuing this. They're going to give them the chance. But what's going to happen is what about this? Here's Erika. It's like Jimmy Swaggart.
Yes.
Sin. She goes, I forgive him. Yes. But I'm also filing a motion for speedy trial to railroad this guy's ass and get him out of there. Because in Utah, unlike a lot of states, the Sixth Amendment, you have a right to a public and a speedy trial. It's the defendant's right. Here, they kind of have like, listen, we'll take it under advisement, to speed this up, move it on down the line. So she concomitantly wants to give him, I forgive him, but as far as your trial goes, right up yours, buddy. You're on your own. You're going to be cracking rocks upstate, showering with people you don't like. That's fine, but I forgive you for the record.
Yeah. All right. So let's go to your theory of the case.
Okay, in terms of what? Who did what?
Yeah, like what do you have a theory on what actually happened and who's involved, who might, because it's obvious there's an FBI cover-up happening and everybody at TPUSA is lying through their teeth. So they're part of the cover-up. I can't say they were part of the assassination, but they're definitely part of the cover-up as far as I can tell. So I have a theory of it, but I just like wondering if you have a theory.
The way, put it this way, the way I would do it is I would make sure nobody knows anything. I want everybody. Did you see how these people are standing around here, standing there next to them? If I told you, hey, Dore, listen, the shot's coming in at 10:15. Stand next to him. Yeah, I hope he doesn't miss. You're going to say, I'm not getting anywhere near here. God forbid a gust of wind. And they're walking. So, I mean, the people that obviously people are looking at foreign, the whole Joe Dent thing, the foreign part. You have people exculpating themselves immediately before anybody even called them, and how that goes. You have foreign. One of the people, though, that if you think about this, who would have a motive for this? Somebody somewhere wants to go out with a bank. So who really wants to have a motive? One of the ones that I would, and I'm not suggesting this, but I would like to see who one of the things that Charlie did before is he says, I want a kind of a Doge review of this. I don't know where all this money. Do you see it? These people, They take a Gulfstream, a G. I've never been on a private plane in my life. They take this. They take it to go to 7-Eleven. They take a plane.
Yes.
So where's all this money going? And you see their homes?
Yes.
These people.
And all the shell companies that they have. And yes, I mean, the Wolves and Finance have done great work on this.
And I don't want to go DEI on you, but is there a brother in the group? This looks like some kind of Aryan, I don't know, like boys from Brazil. This like this chromosomal, like, well, who are these people? But I would like to see, is there anybody there who might figure, this is not going well with any investigations. So if this were to look like some stupid stage, it's a robbery, take the wallet, nobody knows. I want something big. And my question was, if I was there, I would have sealed that area off. Nobody would leave. I'm going to take pictures of everybody. You're not going to go. And the last thing I'm going to do, Jimmy, is pave it.
Pave over it.
Remember after JFK, what did they do? They immediately cleaned the car.
Yep.
And they also fixed the windshield from the bullet that entered the opposite direction, which destroys it. So we can talk about who was it. Something tells me that when we find out, it's somebody who wanted to make it look like something else, something that I don't know why. I have to know more about the trajectory. I have to know what's in him before I guess who. Could be anybody. But I do think this, as far as foreign entanglement. Look, and I know Charlie was an important person. He was a macher, a big guy. But I do not believe that with all of the anti-sentiment regarding all kinds of countries in the world, that he was that critical and that important that he must be removed to stop the negative publicity that's coming our way. Are you kidding? He was a part of it. But then again, that implies that people are rational. Now, what's your theory?
My theory is that he had woken up to the fact that TPUSA was a Zionist construct from the beginning, as well as his wife was a honeypot put into his life, that the people closest to him were all psyops working for whatever organization, maybe through the Mossad, maybe not, maybe with the CIA, maybe some of them had their own self-motivation because they were committing financial crimes. I think it was a combination of things. I think the fact that if you look at Mikey McCoy, his reaction to when Charlie got shot or got imploded or exploded with his microphone, whatever it was, happened. Before he even fell off the chair, Mikey McCoy was on the phone and he walked away. And the excuse was that Charlie had beaten into their heads, pounded into them, that if something happens to me, you immediately call Erika. I would just like to see how if they ever try to practice this. Okay, practice. Mikey, if I get shot, what do? I call 911? No, you don't call. You call Erika. Mikey, let's try this again. I get shot. What do? I get you first aid? No, you call Erika. Okay, let's try it again. Mikey, what do you do if I get shot? I make sure the ambulance is coming? No, you call Erika and you have 6 lugs jam me into an SUV and my legs are hanging out the car all the way to the hospital, and we pass by the first hospital, we go to the one farther away, and then that SUV gets cleaned like JFK's limo and immediately sold.
By the way,
go ahead.
By the way, Jimmy, if anything happens to me, make sure you get all of the SD cards out of all of the cameras. Leave the cameras. They're worth a fortune, but get the SD cards and start going like that. I mean, I don't even know where do we start with this thing? But the thing is, go ahead, sir.
So I think that's Mikey McCoy. My opinion, my theory is he was definitely in on it. And I think that Brian Hartpole, his security guy, was in on it because they got caught lying about the drones. They got caught lying about doing the walk around and securing the place. You don't have a guy looking at the roof, really? You don't have a guy looking at it's a small space. People, again, just like Butler, Pennsylvania, people in the crowd saw somebody on that roof. Guess who didn't? His $1 million security team. None of the campus police, none of the city police. Nobody saw him except the guys in the crowd. So and what's that? And then they didn't fire the security team, and the security team didn't have any. They say they have weeks. Brian Hartpole said in his interview, He said weeks ahead of time they plan this stuff out and how everything's going to work. Well, he had another engagement at another college the next week. They had no airline tickets. They had no hotels. They had no logistics planned out. So they knew he wasn't. So there was definitely his security team was in on it. And I think definitely Mikey McCoy was in on it. And the fact that they keep lying about not only that, but their planes, Erika and Tyler Boyer are being caught by Candace lying about the planes. And when they flew to, you saw, if you watch Candace, it's unbelievable what she's uncovering. And so also Baron Coleman. They're lying about that there was another shooter now that Baron Coleman has discovered that there might have been another. People have reported seeing another shooter, and you never hear about that other shooter. There's all kinds of stuff. So I think there were a lot of people with foreknowledge. Baron Coleman thinks Erika Kirk had foreknowledge, and I think that Charlie Kirk had figured out that everybody around him was dirty, which is why he ordered the Doge thing, and why he had turned. They lied about his meeting at the Hamptons, and they lied about Benjamin Netanyahu offering him money to go along with it. And it was him that he got credited with stopping Trump from starting the Iran war the first time in June. And so I think he was seen as a big impediment to the Iran. I think he was the first casualty of the Iran war. So that's my theory.
Well, that is certainly plausible. I will tell you this: if I were to do it, I would have had none of these jadrules anywhere near any planning of this, because you get a Mikey McCoy, you put a little bit of heat on him and he will sing, he will compose. You don't want these people involved in any of this. You want somebody to come along and say, okay, and that's it. All of a sudden this guy leaves, and what happens? He goes, just watch what happens. That's the way it normally is done. But the thing about it is that I would also ask, in my crazy fantasy world here, I'm going to say, hey, Candace, I got you a front seat. Would you mind coming in there? All of a sudden, she walks in and sits down in the front seat during the trial. Who's that? Candace Owens, right there. She's not a witness because they have the rule of sequestration. If you're a witness, you can't testify. So
Right.
just have her sit there. Joe Lewis used to do that. Remember that? We'd bring Joe Lewis to sit in trials, and I go, oh my God. Or later on, believe it or not, if I ever said, did you ever, prosecutor, did you ever talk to any of the people who did Baron Coleman and others and Candace Owens? No. Did you ever call them? Did they ever make? Yes. Well, let me do this. Now I'm going to call her. State your name for the record, Candace Owens. Did anybody ever call you? No. Did you offer? No. So you mean to tell me you've got people coming forward and you put out, call 1-800-TIPS. Did you do the 1-800-TIPS? Here's the tips. You never listen to these people. Baron Coleman, what he does, it's like the genealogical thing. He plumbs the depth so deep. I'll bet you half of these people didn't realize that they had these many companies.
No kidding.
But also remember something. When OJ was OJ, there wasn't social media.
That's right.
But this is social media with these people who come along, and they're not just commentators. They're investigators. Jack Anderson, move over. So this is a new era. And yet, if you watch cable news, because they allow 1 minute, and whatever you tell them, they found a confession. That's it. Remember when they had experts from, I don't know who they were, saying, well, just because the bullets didn't match, that's not exoneration. Let me remind you, this is a lint brush. There's no connection to it. Don't tell me that.
So, Lionel, what do you also make of the fact you bring up cable news? What do you make of their incuriosity? Because this sounds like the story that would be right up their alley. Remember, I'm old enough to remember John Benet Ramsey. It was for years they talked about that nonstop, 24/7. They have barely talked about this case or the contradictions or any of the evidence So what do you make of their incuriosity?
Notice how they're talking about Eric Swalwell more about it. Who the hell cares about Eric Swalwell? We know more about this fang and dung and boom boom. We know every little thing. But this is one time, I got to tell you this. One time I don't ask people, this muscle relaxant. And I was saying, and I said, what the hell's the matter with me? And I read one of the side effects or the effects, and it says lack of concern. Well, that's what I think that's in the water cooler. They're like this. Okay. Well, coming up, things in your bathroom that can kill you, and a rat pulling a piece of pizza, the latest twerking face. They don't care. And I'm saying, what is your connection to Tyler Robinson? Why do you feel this compunction to either railroad him or not even investigate? Tell me Tell me. And they'll say, oh, because why? Because they're going to shutter these newsrooms and they're saying, don't make any waves. No hits, no runs, no errors. Just don't do anything because we are, Barry Weiss will come in or
Yes.
whatever. So this, by the way, Jimmy, we are not the future. We are the present. This is cutting edge. Do you remember when disco died? I don't. I don't know if it was a Tuesday or Wednesday. I can tell you exactly when the news. It's dead. It's morbid. It is putrescent. It is decaying. It's through. And every single day, these people, this is my favorite. And when President Trump, bless his heart, said, you and Tucker, and you're just upset because you don't have a TV show. A TV show? How about a short wave show? How about something with a baby monitor? How about CB? I don't have, what? This is, hello. This is it. And don't you think for a moment that people are watching this and people are thinking, hey, whatever these two guys are talking about, I want to know. Gotcha.
Yeah. Well, Lionel, do you have how do you see this ending up? Do you see this ending up a certain way? You already said that you can't see them ever letting Tyler Robinson go. They can't do that. What are they going to do?
If this were anybody else, they would probably do this. They'll make him a deal. They'll say, listen, how about if we drop this down to manslaughter, do a couple of years, just keep your mouth shut, or maybe something happens in prison. I don't know. It's not going to be this. The death penalty, not even close. Listen, it's my life. I would say, we're going to tee it up. I want an acquittal. Can you imagine acquittal? An acquittal? And let me tell you something else. Don't be surprised if people in whatever level of black ops, you find a couple of people in the field whose jobs you had. Remember the meme? You had one job. This was the story. Hey, suicide by cop. What the were you doing? He comes out. What are you? But the storyline. It's like we had the programs. We had the Wikipedia already written up, and everything was like done. No, you never saw it coming, did you? You never saw it coming. And by the way, how about that sheriff who stepped down? What was that all about?
What was that about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's he? Don't be surprised if all of a sudden they do a William Casey on him. He's out hunting. Don't go hunting and don't go fishing. Believe me. Oh, I'm serious.
I believe you.
One more thing. When Epstein was found, remember this. There were two things that were most important. Hyoid bone and thyroid cartilage fractured. That's strangulation. That is not ligature. That is not suspension. It's not done. Bill Barr looked you in the face, and Crazy Eyes Patel and Dan Bongina looked at you in the face and said, "Dude, take my word for it. It was absolute. They look at you and they lie. They don't lie. It's like an act, or it's a role, or they convince themselves that it's for a better good. Nobody ever looked at this and said, he did not kill himself. And this has become commonplace. And what also is talk about in curiosity, people are found dead. Well, how about 10, 11, 12, 20 nuclear scientists and people with UFOs? And don't. Do you see a pattern here? Murder, She Wrote. Remember, I got to tell you this. The number one format in radio, true crime. True crime, my ass. This is true crime, and nobody cares about it. They're trying to unearth cases 50 years ago. The Sam Shepard murder. No, Look at this. It blows my mind.
So what? So what are they going to do with them?
Well, I can only tell you what. I'm sorry, I don't want to say this officially, but I'm going to say, don't buy the green bananas, Tyler, because if I know this, you cannot be allowed to talk. You cannot be. What if you get imagine this, Dateline. When Dateline matters, or you get that Morrison guy, well, let's see about what you do. Where this guy came in there and said, you don't understand something. I'm a little shingad. I'm out of my mind. I was there. I didn't know. there was a guy who told me to go there. Oh, you didn't know about him? There are facts out there you don't know about. Why did you get there? Why did you drive how many hours to do what exactly? I mean, oh, and I love this. They said, well, they found his fingerprint on it. It's his gun.
It's his gun.
And who are the other DNA people? What are you talking?
They found like 6 people's DNA on that rifle, and his. So that's supposed to be some gotcha. And the idea that he confessed, he never confessed. He only confessed in those made-up text messages that the FBI concocted. He didn't confess to his father. That was a lie. He didn't confess to the cop. Yet you have journalists out there like Michael Schellenberger out there publicly saying that he did confess. Michael Schellenberger got dismantled by Joe Rogan over Epstein, and then he's lying. I caught him lying about Tyler Robinson. And what's the one through line through those two things is Israel intelligence. That's the tool. And so and he's obviously working somehow for them. Go ahead.
No, but the point is all these narratives. Not only is there's no curiosity about anything, but the real story is that if you get in, let me explain. When you get too far, when you go too far, you're a ding, 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 a conspiracy theorist. You're a tinfoil hat lunatic. By the way, it's not tin, it's aluminum. We haven't worn tin in years. And as Gore Vidal says, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy analyst.
Yes.
This is a conspiracy. 2 or more guilty people confederated to bring about something. But this is the only guy in the history, in the annals of American jurisprudence, in juridical history, Tyler Robinson, who conspired with nobody. They conspired against him.
Yes. Well, isn't it amazing that we have a rash of lone nut shooters, right? So Luigi Mangione, straight A student, lone nut. That Crooks, straight A student, lone nut. Now we have Tyler Robinson, straight A student, lone nut. All these, did they go to some lone nut shooter camp in the summer or something? And how to not get noticed on a roof? They didn't notice Crooks until after he took the shots. They never got to Tyler Robinson. He's able to take apart a gun. Not only that, he changed his clothes. According to the gun, he changed his clothes on top of the roof. He puts together a gun, lines up the shot, takes the shot, and then after he takes the shot, he then takes the gun apart again, and nobody sees him. No cops run up there. No security runs up there, and then he leaves the screwdriver up there. That's going to come back to haunt him. And then I don't know what he does with the gun. He takes it apart. It doesn't fit in his backpack. It doesn't fit down his pants. But he puts a towel over it, and he Spider-Man's his way off
to protect the fingerprints.
Yeah, the Spider-Man's his way off the roof. He runs through campus. Nobody sees this guy carrying a put together gun. He gets into the woods. He puts it back together, but without the screwdriver. He's a regular MacGyver, and then he plants it in the backyard of the house owned by Palantir. Holy cow!
And goes to Disney, Dairy Queen for a Frosty.
Goes for a Frosty, yes.
Cool as a cucumber.
So I think that there's military involved, like Candace Owens says. I don't know if it's so. She also the French. There's a sect of the French military that are Freemasons that just got indicted by their own government for being an assassination squad, and she had predicted that. And anyway, so there's way more here than people think. And thank God for podcasts and YouTube shows like yours and Candace and Baron Coleman and this show and
yours
and Wolves in Finance. We're not going to let this die. And
let me just tell you something. You would be great at this. If I said, Jimmy, do the closing. Do the closing. You walk up and you tell them, ladies and gentlemen, let me get this straight. Let me tell you a story. By the way, I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring in my gunnery sergeant, James Dore, USMC. Hey, Gunny, take this apart. Just a minute. God, these screws are frozen, and you got any. And then you can also tell if the screws have been real. Here, come on. Here's it. Quit. Go. Let me time you. Go. Hurry up. Okay. Take it apart. Now put it down your pants. Put it in my pants. What are you talking about? Now put it together again. Again. You see this guy who can field strip a Mauser under fire, and he's trying to take this thing. Yeah. And meanwhile, Granddaddy's saying, where the hell is my rifle? Yeah. He was worried about Granddaddy, worried about my shooting iron.
Yeah.
But it was the Amos McCoy, Walter Bennett, really, Luke, it's the more you plumb, it's like Mandelbrot's fractals. You keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and there's more and more and more. It's nuts. But you never know that by watching cable TV.
You would never know it. You would never
know it, sir.
And what I tell people is that no matter what part of this case you look at, no matter if you look at the FBI story or you look at the text messages or you look at the security detail or you look at the people at TPUSA's story or you look at the fact there wasn't an ambulance, you look at the fact that they took him to this hospital, that the FBI went and took all the videotape from that house, them lying about the planes they took to get there. No matter what you look at, it's filled with a myriad lies. Go ahead.
And no tape of Tyler walking into the
no.
There was some 30-day rule or something.
Yeah.
It's just like there's no pictures of NASA. You know, the moon landing.
That's right. That all got destroyed. What they actually showed the press was a projection that the NASA put on a wall. They're like, can't we get the original feed? And NASA's like, no, this is good. Yeah.
And don't forget, they also had a windbreaker on the moon. That's all I'm going to tell you. I don't want to get into that. Listen, is there something wrong with us? Jimmy, seriously, why? Ye of little faith. Why do we ask questions? Why? What was that? What was your red pill moment where you said, I don't believe this. I don't believe. What's the matter with us? These people are happy. We're walking around. We can't sleep at night. Oh, my God, the neighbor. And what happened to us? There's a lot more of us. It's incredulity. It's the fact that it insults our intelligence. And also, in all candor, in all seriousness, it's justice for Charlie. They killed that kid. And this guy doesn't deserve that. And as long as we're here, somebody's going to have to fight for him. Candace is leading the pack. And if I can help, I'm here reporting for duty, sir.
When I was a kid, I grew up Catholic. And
me too.
I went to Catholic school. And when I was a kid, there used to be these things, you know what they're called. I'll explain to the audience. They're called days of holy obligation.
Oh yeah.
Meaning you have to go to church every Sunday. And if you skip without confessing, you go to hell, right? That's what I was taught. And then there's also days on top of Sundays that are called holy days of obligation that you also have to attend church.
Right.
And there used to be like, I can't remember the exact number, but let's say there were 20 of them a year outside of the regular Sundays you had to go. When I was a kid in Catholic school, they got rid of them and it was only like 8 now. Now there's only 8. And I was like, well, what about all the people in hell because they skipped the ones that aren't even compulsory anymore and they didn't have an answer for me? And so that was my red pill. That was when I was like, wait a minute. I think some of this stuff I've been suspicious of authority ever since then.
I'm not sure how old you are, but I'll be 68 in August.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, we had this thing called limbo. Remember limbo?
Yes, remember limbo?
Now you're really old because you ask people, limbo, you mean Harry Belafonte? No, limbo. This is where unbaptized babies went.
That's right.
And I say, excuse me, what if they were born in another place? What if they died before? I don't know. So I asked a priest, I said, listen, I got to ask you something. This is unfair. These kids didn't do anything. And he says, well, it's like a thimble full of water and a bucket full of water. They're both full, but one's less. I said, what the hell does that mean?
What does that mean?
But what about that? I said, excuse me, back to my question. What about here's your thimble. I got to tell you a quick one real quick. You remember the guardian angels? Not Curtis Sliwa, but the guardian angels. There was this one picture. The Catholic Church had the best paintings. They were like, these two kids were on a bridge or a rope bridge or something. It was lightning and they're over this 1,000-foot crevice between two mountains. How the hell they got there? But it's dark and they're huddled like this. And there was a guardian angel behind them. And I said, Sister, Sister Mike Tyson, Sister Mary Agony, Sister H.R. Bob Haldeman, Sister, yeah. Do we each have a guardian angel? This is true. Yes. Well, there's only one here. Which of these kids buys the farm? And she says, stop it. Stop asking questions. I thought, oh my God, stop asking questions. Well, from that day on, I was committed to asking questions. And that actually cemented my incredulity. It made me think. The saints, the martyrs. I went to a place called St. Lawrence in Tampa. St. Lawrence of Rome. Very quickly, look it up, kids. He was burned on a gridiron. You know what his line was? Look it up. When they turn me over, I'm done on this side. I'm 8 years old. And I say, excuse me, you're trying to get me to become a Catholic by telling me stories about people who were killed by professing that which you want me to believe? This is not a motivation. They were killed for this. Can I think this one over? What are the Protestants doing? They don't have martyrs. I mean, this is
Lionel. This might come as a surprise to you, but it's what Carl Jung would call a synchronicity. I went to Our Lady of the Snows, was my grammar school. My high school, St. Lawrence High School in Burbank, California.
I went to the Jesuits.
Yes, the Jesuits. Yes. I had Christian brothers, actually. That's who I had at St. Lawrence. And I had nuns in my grammar school.
The nuns were the greatest of them all. We had these nuns they were like these Salesian types. They were like from Sicily. They had a choice as a kid. You could either work to death in the sulfur mines or be a nun. And these tough, broad, Sister Carmine, I don't know where, they didn't even speak English. We had kids in our class who had an accent. I'm telling you, they didn't care. And they walked around with black, and they had, remember the stuff? They would stick the stuff up their sleeves.
Yes.
They had daggers, straight edges, first aid kits, grenades, anything you needed. And they just were, nobody ever skipped a grade. We had a kid, I don't know if I just heard this, he failed because of handwriting. They made, and by the way, Jimmy, did you have lines? Did they say, line up? It's like a precision drill team. Height, you would go like this. Count off. May procession, march here, march
processions.
there.
Yes, you remember? Yes.
It's like the Bataan Death March. You just walk. Where the hell are we going? We keep marching. Where? What are we doing? Just keep doing this. Confession. You're 7 years old. What are your sins?
What are
sins?
Sins. I had to make up sins, which is a sin. I'm lying to the priest about the sins because I don't have any sins. I'm only 7.
7 years old. Do you renounce Satan? Beg your pardon? Do I renounce Satan? Renounce Satan for what? Remember the old days when you would go to confession and they had this vault, boom, and you say, "This is great," and it smelled funny, and they would slide this door and
slide it open.
This wax. You could tell, like George Carlin, I touched myself in an impure manner. Anything you wanted. Then one day I walked in, and I walked around, and the guy says, "Hey, Mike." Huh? "Oh, sorry, Father. Made a mistake. I was looking for the confession. This is it. Vatican II strikes again.
Yeah.
You want me to, I just want to be a better Catholic, Father." It was the act quick. Can you do the act of contrition from memory? "Oh my God, I'm
heartily sorry for having offended thee." But that's as long as I could. That's it. I can't remember the rest.
But only because of these, I firmly resolve the set of my grace to sin no more and to avoid the mere temptation of sin.
That's it.
Sin, which I'm not even sure what the hell I'm 7 years old.
Yeah.
I stole a cookie. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. It's sin. I loved it though.
Okay.
It toughens you up.
Yeah, no, I'm actually glad I went to Catholic school.
Absolutely. We need more of that today. I hate to say it.
Yeah, it was I got it. We had one pedo priest. I managed to get away from him. And but some people didn't, and we made fun of them. That's what we did.
Never had a pedo nun. Notice that?
Right.
Never had a pedo nun.
Never. Nope. But
because
anyway,
because they were asexual. They were like mollusks.
Anyway, Lionel, I really appreciate you. You've been very generous with your time. This has been really entertaining. You're such an entertaining cat, and you've got such a great channel. And I'm not kidding, everybody. I really love watching your stuff. The way you do your soliloquies on the day's news. It's fantastic. Everybody check out at Lionel Media on X and. What is your
Lionel
YouTube?
Nation.
Lionel Nation on YouTube.
Yes, sir.
Everybody should check that out. Lionel, thanks for making time for us, brother. Hope to talk to you again soon.
All the best, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Over to Steph.
Okay. That was so much fun. What a terrific interview. I did not know what to expect, and really, really great.